Gear does matter. Yes. Yes, I said it. And a lot of people actually have been saying that recently. This is something that's been on my mind for a while, and it's so counter to what most creators, filmmakers, photographers say these days. Gear does not matter is kind of the slogan or the mantra for so many people who are maybe more successful these days, who are giving insight and knowledge to people who are up and coming, people who don't have as much knowledge, who don't have as much skill, I guess, yet. And I think the gear does not matter slogan is kind of meant to balance people, balance creative people. I think it's meant to take people who have maybe hundreds of dollars of gear, who don't have as many resources, and encourage them and say, hey, like, your gear that you have, it doesn't determine the worth of your work. So don't let that stop you from making things. I think it's also meant to take the people who have thousands of dollars of gear and who have a lot of resources and kind of humble them a bit and say, hey, just because you have all this expensive gear does not mean your work is actually great. It's actually the message behind your work that makes it valuable. And so I think it's meant to bring a balance to the people across the spectrum who are creating things, who are creating photos or videos or whatever it might be. I think that's the intent behind it, but I think it should be rephrased. Instead of saying gear doesn't matter, I think it should say gear doesn't necessarily impact the quality of your message, is what I think it should say. I think it's a miscommunication. And so I'm here to say that gear does in fact matter. It's completely opposite to the saying. And disclaimer, these are just things that I've been thinking about and have been on my mind recently. It's just that we've been hearing this slogan that gear does not matter for so long that I've started thinking about what that really means, and I don't think it's true. So again, don't get mad. This is just my opinion, and you can take it as you will, I guess. So I think now that I've cleared up what gear doesn't matter should mean and should communicate and how it should be said, I think I should explain why gear does matter. This is why gear matters. Gear is the means in which we tell stories and we communicate the messages that we want to communicate. I think we can all agree on that. Having higher quality gear or different gear or extra gear or different tools to do different jobs, having those tools are going to help you make your message that you're communicating more powerful. Think about it. If you need an aerial shot to make your message and your story come across in a more cohesive, powerful way, a drone is going to help you with that. And you're not going to be able to do that with just your camera. And if that shot is what's going to help you make your story better and more powerful, then that gear matters. That gear is going to elevate and help you tell your story better. Or maybe the gear that you need, the shot that you need, is a tight compressed shot. And so a long telephoto lens is the new piece of gear that you need to get. And if that tight compressed shot is what's going to help you tell your story better and what's going to communicate to your audience what you're feeling in a more cohesive way, it matters. That gear matters. That gear is going to help you just elevate your story to the next level. Now, if you have a story that you want to communicate, a strong story that you want to communicate, and you have crap gear, it's still going to work. Your quality, the story itself is going to outweigh the quality of the production, and it's still going to impact people. And if you are talented and you can convey that emotion across well, it's going to work. Now, where gear starts to really, really become beneficial, it's beneficial in that scenario, but the story is what's going to triumph and what's going to impact people more than what it looked like visually, or the audio, or whatever it might be, or the shots you used, or the shots you couldn't get because you didn't have the right gear. The story is gonna take precedence if the story is good. Now, if your story isn't as powerful and isn't as impactful, but you have higher quality gear that's going to help you communicate this maybe 8 out of 10 story instead of a 10 out of 10 story, and it's gonna make you communicate it easier. It's gonna make you communicate it in a more cohesive way. It's going to allow you to get shots that are going to elevate that story. Even though it's an 8, it's gonna help you elevate that story even more, because maybe the actual emotion and idea and message behind the story is not a 10 out of 10, maybe it's a 7 or an 8 out of 10. That gear is gonna help you elevate that message, and it's gonna help you make it more interesting to a wider audience. How do you think all these cinematic travel videos got so popular? There's really no depth to them. They really lack the story. They really do. They're all the same to an extent, and they lack that depth and that character. And don't get me wrong, I love them just as much as everybody else. They're amazing to watch, but the reason they've gotten so popular is because all the visual elements in the film make it enticing, make it something that you want to watch, and it draws you in, even if the story is absolutely flat. So having gear that allows you to take your ideas to the next level in a simpler, more cohesive, more ease of access, high quality way is going to make your stories come together in such a more powerful way. And another thing is speed. If you are filled with ideas and you just want to get them out for people to see, with higher quality gear, your workflow is going to speed up. The ease of access in which you get shots, whether you're making a video or taking photos, it's going to allow you to get out these stories quicker. And that's another reason why gear matters. Also, researching and seeking out that next new lens or that next new camera that you want to get for a specific purpose. At least for me, this is how it works. It is such an inspiration. It's such a fire, a fuel to get me making the next thing, and to inspire me to go to the next level and to make something new and better. And having that new gear is just such a catalyst for taking off and making things that are better and sparking new ideas in my mind. And that might not be for everybody, but that's something I've personally experienced. And by no means should you take that out of context and just start buying new gear hoping inspiration will strike. It's more of the process of finding out what you need, how it's gonna benefit you in your needs, and how it's gonna help you elevate your work, the quality of the work, and help your ideas come to life in a more realistic way. And so when you check off all those things and you don't just buy random stuff and you actually have a purpose for what you're purchasing and what you're going to upgrade to, that whole leading up to actually getting the piece of gear is what makes that inspiration all the more powerful, and what makes that desire to make something better and bigger and more impressive all the more powerful. So having gear just on its own and having no ideas and not using it, obviously you're not going to get anywhere. And even if you do use it and you have no ideas and nothing that makes you come alive, nothing that makes you want to just get this message or this work out there, it's not going to help you communicate anything valuable. But if you have a solid story and then you pair it with quality equipment that will help you tell your story easier and will elevate the quality of your story, that's when you find the sweet spot. And that's when gear starts to really matter, and it really helps you take your message, take your story to the next level and be able to share it with people in an impactful way. So yeah, those are my thoughts on why gear does matter. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please at least consider it. Leave a comment if you wouldn't mind below. And yes, I will see you in the next video. Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.